Okay, I'll call this regional council meeting to order. Developing meaningful relations with our Indigenous neighbors is a priority of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. As such, we are collaborating with First Nations governments and Indigenous organizations to develop a respectful and meaningful territorial acknowledgement. This work also presents an opportunity to learn more about the culture and history of the Indigenous peoples of the region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Should virtual attendees wish to address council during either the public comment period or the question and answer period, use the raise hand feature in your webinar controls. When it is your turn and are prompted, unmute your microphone, state your name, and ask your question. Once your question had ended, you will be muted again. I have an addition on the agenda tonight. I'd like to discuss the possibility of a dog park for the community. Do we have any council additions? No council additions. Do we have any CAO additions?
No, we don't.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Souls. All in favor? All in favor. I'll ask for a motion to adopt the minutes from Regional Council, the April 11th, 2022 meeting. Can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Andrews. Seconded by Councillor Gerwing. All in favor? Okay. Moves. Are there any virtual attendees that wish to comment on the agenda? There are none. Moving on, we have a proclamation. It is Hospice Awareness Month in May. Hospice Awareness Month is focused on raising awareness of community involvement and recognizing that everyone should have access to quality end-of-life care. And the Fort Nelson Hospice Society is comprised of many volunteers who provide direct and indirect care services to individuals living within the Northern Rockies, and member organizations collectively reflect the entire hospice continuum for patients who are facing end of life and are living in their community, to those who are in hospital. And the Fort Nelson Hospice Society seeks to ensure that hospice clients and their families are integrated and receive quality care, and believes this can be achieved through commitment, awareness, and partnership. And Fort Nelson Hospice Society offers grief support for during and after care to family and friends. I, John Roper, Acting Mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Hospice Awareness Month in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. Okay, 7.1, Administration Report number 34, Tourism Strategy Year 1 Implementation. Speaking to the report is Krista Vandersteen. Ms. Vandersteen, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you do have an Excel sheet. Hopefully it wasn't too interesting or hard to read. So it is color coded with a couple different things. So it has all of the actions that are identified in the year 1 of actions within the strategy for the tourism. On the first column, you've got the action number as it's seen in the strategy, followed by the page number for just easy reference. And then if you move across, there's another set of numbers, and that's the TAC priority list. So the top ones in gray are the ones that were identified that have not been started yet. So that's what the TAC focused on for prioritizing. And then below that in yellow are ones that have been started through other means, as well as green are ones that we were able to add on when doing the strategy. So we were able to check that off right away. And then the blue ones at the bottom were deemed as ongoing business as usual items and not really needing a focused budget. So if we're looking at the top gray section, we haven't included any budget, like specific breakdown of budget at this point, just because we're not really sure yet. And we wanted to see what council's opinion was at this stage. And then there's only really 2 that I think would really need an independent budget allocated within this, and the other ones are really just need some additional capacity, so that could be done through contracting out or putting out an expression of interest to other organizations, or potentially with the visitor center if they end up with extra or the ability to hire additional staff. So putting it out to council for comment or discussion.
Okay, do we have any discussions? Okay. Councillor Penny, please.
Krista, just wondering with the 1 and 2 on the Tac Priority List there, are those the two you're referring to that would probably we'd have to look at accessing some funds for?
So based on my review, I would say that the first one, which is both Action 1 and TAC Priority 1, the post-COVID-19 resident engagement program, would need some specific funds to accomplish as a standalone project. And then the hosting of a destination discovery festival would also need a bit more of a standalone and could be a standalone project, or depending on what interest there is in the community and availability of staff.
Perfect. Other than that, it looks good to me.
Do we have any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the attached tourism strategy action items prioritization be approved for action under the tourism strategy implementation budget. Can I get a mover? Moved by Mayor Foster, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vandersteen. Drive safe. 7.2, Administration Report number 3522, Development Variance Permit Application number 2201, Wide Sky Disposal, Relocating Office Modular. Speaking to the report is Radha Adhikara. Take it away, Radha.
Good evening, Mayor, Acting Mayor, and Councillor. Back in 2019, as Council may recall, that the application was brought forward for an extension of the agreement permitting temporary office trailers on the property owned by Wide Sky Disposals. At that time, Council did approve the extension of an agreement allowing minimum front yard setback with the issuance of development variance permit. And this permit was approved for a period of 3 years, and that period expires on July 10th of 2022. As noted earlier, Wide Sky has applied for development variance permit, requesting variance in the in the section 3.7.2 of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality zoning bylaw that would allow an accessory building to be sited in front of the principal building. An additional reason for variance since 2019, as we all are aware of economic downturn due to global pandemic, the applicant has indicated that they cannot find an affordable solution to achieve the initial plan of constructing a permanent office as a part of their principal building. Pursuant to the consideration of Regional Council on March 28th of 2022, a notice to adjacent property owners were sent out. We received one comment from the public, and this was as of date April 19th of 2022 from Heppell with Blue Cannon. He had concerns regarding the blind spot caused by trailers at the intersection between 55th Street and 45th Avenue as a result of the location of trailers within the minimum front yard setback in the property. He also noted that Wide Sky should be held to the same regulations for paving requirements that other businesses are imposed to. NRRM addressed these concerns by working on the removal of the trailers on or before July 10th of 2022 and imposing the paving requirements regulations to have paving completed earliest possible. In response to the council's concern about office street parking, the applicant has indicated that office street parking will be located on the northeast corner of the property. NRRM zoning bylaw requires every office street parking spaces, all loading spaces, all maneuvering aisles, and all driveway connections to highway be surfaced with asphalt or concrete pavement. Minimum 4 numbers of office street parking spaces are required for Wide Sky in accordance with the NRRM zoning bylaw office street parking regulations with regard to both principal building and the proposed accessory building. Currently, NRRM holds a paving deposit of 12,500, which expired on March 2021. At the time when paving deposit was determined, the calculation of the paving area included 3 off-street parking spaces determined in accordance with the zoning bylaw regulations. The paving deposit will be reassessed as we believe that the amount NRRM is currently holding is insufficient. Additional information such as off-street parking layout plan and adequate paving deposit will be required to be submitted prior to the issuance of the building permit. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. I'll open it up for discussion. Are there any comments? Councillor Grooming.
Thanks so much. Mine is concerning the paving. So as I'm reading it, and has been pointed out to me by a few businesses, their duty to that pavement, to do the paving is a year overdue, right? And so it says in the report that the applicant has indicated that they will commence paving once the building is complete. Well, what does complete mean? Is there a timeline on this? Like how long? Because it's already a year overdue. Now it's being changed. So does that give them another year? Does that and was there any negative ramification for not doing it? Is there a fine? I don't know how that works.
I, with my director as well as building inspector, had conversation regarding this.
I'm sorry, I'm
sorry,
that's okay.
my apologies. Yeah, I, with our director and our building inspector, had conversation regarding this aspect. We believe that NRRM should have taken action as soon as the due date is passed, but since that was not taken any actions, now it's the time that we have to give an opportunity for White Sky to follow the regulations that we can bring upon from the requirements of zoning bylaw. And we believe after the reassessment of the or reevaluation of the paving area as well as the paving deposit, we believe this will be directly impacting on the issuance of the building permit for him. As in our report also, it has been indicated that the issuance of building permit is restricted. I'm sorry. We put the conditions that we receive the paving requirements as well as paving deposit as well as paving layout before we issue the building permit.
So then I guess the negative repercussion is we hold on to the money, but.
Yeah, kind of. We may work on this further to see if that impact, as you mentioned, that might be ramification for the rest of the businesses as we keep on adding the years after years to them. So we'll try to work on it.
Councillor Andrews.
It was to my understanding that the deposit was held so that if in that timeline it wasn't paved, the municipality would add it to our paving for the next year and use that money to pay for it. Is that not correct?
Right, that's correct. So as I mentioned earlier, NRRM should have already taken the action as soon as that time expired. So, and at this current time, even if we use this amount, we won't have adequate amount. So we'll have to have adequate amount first, and then we may proceed if you decide to get it done by NRRM or give chance to White Sky.
Councillor Slows and then Mayor Foster.
My understanding is, I mean, the report did reference the fact that we've all had this last couple of years together, and it hasn't been very easy to make much of anything happen. And I look at it from the point of view when you're at this point looking for, or recently looked for a variance as to where you place your office in the first place. It wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense to do some paving based on a plan where the office was originally supposed to be and not able to be built there, which is outlined in the report. So I think that this is logical, and what I see, or at least what I'm reading in this, and you could comment on it if you need to, but in the last sentence of the recommendation, you have an adequate paving deposit is submitted prior to issuance. I think the fact that there's already part of a deposit there, we can discuss with them adding to that to ensure that there is a more substantial paving deposit, because it does cost money to pave, and I'm sure the deposit will go toward the paving when that does happen. And I think I'd be totally satisfied that that is the way to go, because we've already approved in essence the offices, the office setup. So.
Thank you, Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Roper. Just two comments here. First of all, there was no paving done in the Northern Rockies last year, so it probably would have been impossible for Wide Sky to do that paving. The municipality didn't have any paving done either, and I think this was due to COVID or DGS not being here, Peterson Brothers. So I think that's an issue. The other thing is the paving deposits over the years seem to have been much too small, and I can speak to this from a property that I own, that the paving deposit is just minuscule compared to the actual cost of the paving. And from what I hear from staff is they're attempting to address that issue. So I'm comfortable voting for the recommendation that's before us today.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. Are there any other comments? Okay, and I'll just add that it seems the applicant is, they're just getting their ducks in a row, and they're waiting for a layout to be established. So I have confidence that we'll see that happen. Okay, so if there are no other comments, we have a recommendation that development variance permit number 2201 be approved, allowing an accessory building, office modular, to be sited in the front of or forward of the principal building on the property located at 4501 55th Street, and that an off-street parking plan and an adequate paving deposit is submitted prior to issuance of the building permit. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Penny. Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Mayor Foster. All those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Moving on, 7.3 zoning amendment, C2 Highway Commercial 4804 50th Avenue North, bylaw number 202, 2022. Speaking to the report, Radha Adhikara. Go ahead, Radha.
Thank you again. So this bylaw report contemplates an application received for a zoning amendment request proposing to accommodate new development in Fort Nelson. In today's meeting, I will be introducing the purpose of the amendment and applicable planning policies. This proposal can very much be seen as one that positively impacts the local economy and could enhance visitors' recreational services. So Regional Council has in front of you an opportunity to call on the long-established success of the applicant's proposal to offer a unique fast food restaurant and drive-through business amenities in Fort Nelson. The subject property is a corner lot located at 4804 50th Avenue North, as you may know, on the south side of the Canada Post building. Also, the context map is attached with the report. From the development perspective, the official community plan designation of the subject site is commercial, and coinciding zoning designation is service station commercial as per NRRM zoning bylaw. According to the NRRM official community plan, specifically with regard to this property, there is also downtown development permit area overlay, which poses additional regulations, including building and structure guidelines, parking guidelines, vehicle or pedestrian guidelines, and landscaping guidelines. The developer has proposed a fast food restaurant and drive-through service on the property, as a restaurant and a drive-through business is not a principal permitted use in the service station commercial zone. Zoning amendment is required. It is recommended zoning specific to this partial amendment to C2 highway commercial would be would permit the development of restaurant and a drive-through business as a principal use. In considering any site-specific zoning amendment, legislation requires public hearing and public notification to be initiated prior to Regional Council adopting a zoning amendment. Additionally, the zoning amendment application was submitted to the Ministry of Transportation for review on April 13th of 2022. The local government may not approve a zoning amendment applicable to the parcel of land located within 800 meters of a controlled access highway unless Ministry of Transportation has approved the zoning amendment. Therefore, it is recommended that first and second reading be given to this bylaw report and public hearing on the amendment be scheduled for 6 p.m. on May 24th of 2022. The next steps upon adoption of zoning amendment would include an application for development permit. We will prepare a report to Regional Council for Council's consideration in subsequent regular council meeting. That's all from my end.
Okay, I'll open it up for discussion. Any comments, questions? Councillor Souls.
I really like success stories, and when you actually see someone trying to turn an ex-brownfield into something that's actually a useful part of the community, I think that'd be a first. Well, maybe not a first, but it's a very rare thing, and it's pretty exciting to see that something like that actually, where you saw an oil company follow through to actually get their environmental certificate cleaned up, and now someone turning it and repurposing it. That's really
Well said. Any other comments? Mayor Foster.
So just a couple of things. I mean, before us is a zoning amendment. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone that they have an active participant here to do that particular project. And even if they've indicated that, things can change, but I'm pretty excited about it just the same. The only other comment I would have is that maybe we're going to have to look at the angled parking on that side of the street, because as vehicles enter and leave that, it may become difficult for them to navigate the traffic. But that can be something that we can look at in the future. And as Councillor Souls said, I'm pretty excited about this. I hope it comes to fruition.
Great. Any other comments? Okay, so we have a recommendation that first and second readings be given to Northern Rockies Regional Municipality zoning amendments, C2 Highway Commercial, 4804 50th Avenue North, bylaw number 202, 2022, and that a public hearing on the amendment be scheduled for 6 p.m. on May 24th, 2022. Would anyone like to make the motion? Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Mayor Foster. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 7.4, 5-year financial plan, bylaw number 203, 2022. Speaking to the report, we have Trevor Ryerchuk. I hope I said that okay.
You got it right. So the report before you is to introduce the 5-year financial plan bylaw for the period 2022 through to 2026. And this is a annual legislated requirement of the community charter. And it also requires that there be at least one day between third reading and final adoption. The first year of the financial plan has been developed from the budget that was approved in principle at the March 10th, 2022 Regional Council meeting. And then for the years 2023 through 2026, we projected and forecasted using an inflation factor of 2.5% for most operating costs and user fees. And then we also included work from the 5-year capital plan that's been developed for the IDCA. And we adjusted it to keep the tax levy at roughly 2.5% year over year. So basically, we adjusted what we would expect to spend on the capital side. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Any comments? Councillor Andrews.
The inflation factor of 2.5 just seems a little low, given that it's been quite a bit higher. Like, I guess we redo this every year anyway, so it wouldn't be much of a miss, but would it be beneficial to raise it?
Well, yeah, we discussed it for sure. And I'm not sure if there would be value in adjusting it, in increasing it. We're doing two things by looking at the inflation rate. We're looking at it on the operating or the expenditure side as well as the revenue side. So there is some offset happening. But what it would give us is perhaps I wouldn't say better, but it'll give us a different presentation of what that gross amounts would be, right? So if we were to say bump it up to 5%, our expenditures are going to be higher, our revenues are going to be higher. What that might actually result in, still yet to be seen. So what I would just say is that the inflation rate is taken into consideration to try to get to the best presentation that we can for the period. Okay.
Any other comments or discussions? Okay, hearing none, we have a recommendation that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality 5-year financial plan, bylaw number 203, 2022 be given first, second, and third reading. Can I get a motion? Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Mayor Foster. All those in favor? Okay, that passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have some correspondence here, and there might be some discussion. We have a letter from Susan Mulkey. Did I miss something? Oh, sorry. Okay. 7.5, tax rate bylaw number 204, 2022. Speaking to the report again is Trevor Ryerchuk. Thank you.
Thank you. And this second bylaw of the night does come after the financial plan is approved. It essentially lays out what the tax levy is, and there's not much more to it. There's discussion as well with regards to the objectives of the taxes that we do levy within that report. If there's any questions.
Any comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, we have a recommendation that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Tax Rates Bylaw number 204, 2022 be given first, second, and third readings. Would anyone like to make the motion? Councillor Penny, moved by Mayor Foster. All those in favor? So passed. Okay, thank you. Okay, now moving on to correspondence. We have a letter from Susan Mulkey, BC Community Forest Association, regarding pricing policy for community forests. Does anyone want to discuss this? We are being asked to support a motion at UBCM. Any comments or questions?
I'll just comment that I think it is a good thing to support what she's recommending. I think at very least, when you have this kind of an adjustment that's being considered by government in how they apply their tabulars or their stumpage rate, and the idea of changing it when every community forest, we're relatively new at community forest, but the community forest has a fairly daunting task of actually doing some serious planning. They have to do quite a bit of planning ahead, and so to have this actually could have make a radical difference in the stumpage rates that could be applied to community forests and First Nation woodlots. And I think it's inappropriate to just spring it too quickly. There should be a lot more discussion about this before it goes forward.
Good point. Mayor Foster, go ahead.
I agree with Councillor Souls. I mean, the whole rationale for the community forest is that we can provide wood to a potential producer at a lower cost. so that he's got, so he can get his wood to market here. And so that his beginning product is inexpensive and we can have a viable industry here. And this undermines that. It raises the cost of the product that we're selling to a potential mill. So I think I would support the resolution here going to UBCM.
Okay, any other discussion? Mayor Foster, would you like to make that motion? Okay, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Souls. All in favor? Okay, that passes. Okay, moving on. We have a letter to Leanne Heppell, Executive Vice President, and Chief Ambulance Officer. That's from us to her. Was there any discussion on this subject or the letter? Okay, moving on. We have a letter from Paul and Raven Lacerte, National Ambassadors and co-founders, as well as David Stevenson, Chief Executive Officer of the Moosehide Campaign. We have an invitation to join the Moosehide Campaign. I did have a look at the how we can help, and I visited the website, and I think this is a really worthwhile campaign, something that we can definitely get involved with. At the very least, we can do the awareness piece. We could instruct staff to order pins. There's lots we can do. Any discussion on the Moosehide Campaign? Councillor Penny.
I'm in the same frame of mind as you, Acting Mayor Roper. I've been supporting this campaign now for a year or so. I actually have pins available at my business. Can actually get you some. Still got a box full down there, so we could. If anybody wanted to support a pin, I can make sure I get them to you pretty soon. But yeah, I think it's a great campaign. So glad to see us get behind it.
Great, thank you, Councillor Penny. Any comments? Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on. We have a letter from Mike Bernier.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Should we make a motion then that we instruct staff to like I can get some pins, but if we're gonna follow through with this, I guess we should make a motion if we're gonna proclaim May 12th as Moosehide Campaign Day in the Northern Rockies, and to have staff reach out and get us some pins.
Absolutely, and I think there's a potential there to share some of the campaign via our municipal social media pages as well. So I guess we'll roll that into one motion. Councillor Penny, would you like to make the motion?
Yes, and is that enough for you for the motion? Okay. Yes, I make that motion.
Yes, that's good. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. And we have a seconder, Mayor Foster. All those in favor? Very good. Okay, great. All right, moving on. Letter from Mike Bernier regarding public engagement portal for boreal caribou. Just some information here that the engagement portal on the draft boreal caribou protection and recovery plan is now live and will remain open until May the 20th. Did anyone have any comments or discussions about this? Councillor Andrews.
Can we have this link on our social media as well to promote, please? If council wishes, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Mayor Foster seconds. All those in favor? Okay, motion passes. Great. 8.5, we have a letter from Loris Forsberg, Chair of the Community Forests General Partner Corporation regarding stumpage policy for community forests in BC. Do we have any discussion or comments or questions? Okay, received for information. Moving on, received for information, council information package, April 13th, 2022. Council information package, April 20th, 2022. New business. So I've recently become a pet owner once again after a long absence, and I've been engaging with the pet community, and I've heard from a few different groups that they would really like to see a dog park project of some sort happen in the municipality. So I was wondering if council had the appetite to perhaps dig a little bit further, maybe do some research on costing or options. And I believe some work was done previously, and perhaps maybe just a recap of what has been done already. Any discussions? Councillor Gerwing.
Yeah, there was a report some years ago, so it would be good from my perspective to review that report before I proceed any further, because there was a lot of work done on it. So.
Okay, great. Any other comments, questions? Okay, great. Mayor Foster.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we need a motion here to instruct staff to bring forward that report that Councillor Gerwin was talking about.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Second that.
Okay, Councillor Penny seconds. All in favor? All right. Very good. Okay, standing items. Any councillor reports? Councillor Gerwin.
Okay, so on April the 12th, we had our second environmental action committee meeting. And we had a presentation of the NRM's current solid waste management plan by Roxy, who's the project manager with GHD, our consultant. And then following the presentation, our discussion centered on the following questions. What is missing in the solid waste management plan? What's valuable to keep moving forward with? And then we had a session on thoughts and ideas and brainstorming. So it was a very robust discussion. Keeping in mind that this is a 5-year review, it's not a change of it. So it's part of the legal requirement that you have this 5-year review. So we'll be presenting a report to council after our June meeting with our recommendations for moving forward on the plan. I attended the PRRD Broadband Internet and Mobility Committee meeting on April 13th. I was only able to attend the morning part of the meeting, which featured a discussion on whether the region would be interested in submitting a joint proposal for funding to increase access and speeds for communities within the PRRD. Not exactly sure what happened all in the afternoon, but my takeaway from the morning part of it is that I didn't really think there was an appetite to come together as a whole region to submit a project proposal. And then I, on April 14th, attended the Fort Nelson District Chamber of Commerce Board meeting, and they are continuing on the path to review all of the chamber's policies and to start a new strategic planning process. And they were to host their AGM on April 14th, but had to be postponed. On April 18th, I attended the Public Libraries Board meeting, and the library is continuing with some smaller renovation projects that will not be negatively impacted by the possible building overhaul. I just wanted to do a quick review of the March stats for the library. So in March, 1,700 people walked through the doors, 2,933 items were loaned out, like physical items, and 147 users for the public computers, and 15 new patrons were registered in the month of March. And yeah, it was really good, yeah. And on April 19th, I attended the drum dance at FNFN, welcoming the nation's guests from New Zealand. And then on the 20th, I attended the breakfast hosted by FNFN, where we had the pleasure of learning how the Maori people use their geothermal project proceeds to support their people. It was so inspiring. Like, I came away from that breakfast really, really inspired. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to Chief Gale and the FNFN Council for including us in their visit. So that's the end of my report. Thanks.
Excellent report. Thank you very much, Councillor Gerwin. Any other councillor reports? Councillor Andrews.
Not a huge report or anything, but I happened to travel down to Dawson Creek and back last Tuesday through the huge snowstorm, and just a huge gratitude to White Bear and their crews. The roads were terrible on the way down. They had the plows out and everything. And by the time I come home, everything was clear and good to go. It was pretty good.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Any other councillor reports? Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Roper. I attended the broadband meeting along with Councillor Gerwing with the Peace Regional District via Zoom. And, you know, we talked about several issues, including collaboration. I think it's important that both our municipality and the Peace Regional District collaborate to see if we can't bring some kind of joint project together. I know the government of BC is anxious to see First Nations regional districts and our regional municipality get together and bring forward proposals to them. So I'm hoping we see that in the not too distant future, and I know our staff is working on that. On Tuesday, April 19th, I met with Minister Cullen, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Parliamentary Secretary Rice, and Parliamentary Secretary Raleigh Russell. It was a scheduled meeting with Municipal Affairs to discuss emergency preparedness. And I took that opportunity to mention to Minister Cullen that we have an opportunity here in the Northern Rockies to host people from the Ukraine that have been displaced there. And I just put it out to him that, you know, we are one of the unique places in the province of British Columbia that has a surplus of housing rather than a deficit. And he thanked me for that. It was not particularly topical, but he did bring up that he was in charge of immigration for the province as well. So anyway, he got the message. He said it was good to know, and he would keep that in his back pocket if the need arose, you know, for future consideration. As far as emergency preparedness goes, I mentioned to him that the larger issue for our community here is wildfires, and we are constantly worried about wildfires after the occurrences in Fort McMurray and Slave Lake and in Lillooet now. So I brought that to his attention that this was something that was concerning to our community. As Councillor Goering mentioned, we met with Adele and Wikitoria from New Zealand, and it was good to hear their perspective on things and hear how things are done differently in New Zealand than they are in Canada. And we attended the drum dance at the invitation of Chief Gale, and I've already passed on our deep thanks for inviting us there. And Councillor Penny and I have met them again here down at the conference of the First Nations Major Projects Coalition. And we continue to build that relationship and learn about geothermal in their area. So it was an excellent exchange, and they are having a wonderful time in Canada, and that's glad to hear. That's it.
Excellent report. Thank you, Mayor Foster. Any other reports? Okay, public and news media question and answer period. Are there any virtual attendees that wish to ask a question? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, if there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to declare the meeting adjourned. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Souls. All in favor? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.